YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my score predictions and picks against the spread for Week 14 of the NFL season. We're here every Wednesday with this video, going over each score, and at the end, I'll recap my picks against the spread, which we've been on fire on this year, so excited to show you what I got on a tough week this week. A lot of tough games to pick. Join us. We have other picks with other guys at the Goat House. Recently went up. We have a recent mock draft that went up. Power rankings, a lot more content here, so join us, like, subscribe to know if it's on, follow us on Twitter. Check out our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop. Always have the jewelry on from the GLD Shop. We have a giveaway going on with them. Links pinned in the comments. Code GOAT on either of those sites. First game. Going to be a boring one probably, but if you like defense, you get it with this one. Patriots are plus 6 in Pittsburgh. Steelers are, that's why this one's tough, in terms of picking against the spread, because Steelers are usually really good at home prime time, and the Patriots been really bad this year, so that we could argue that the Steelers covered that 6, but not a huge Mitchell Trubisky guy. Pickett's been struggling, and Trubisky's behind him for a reason. So Patriots defense, they played very well last week against the Chargers too, so I can't really doubt the Patriots defense. You can definitely doubt their offense. So I think a lot of field goals in this game. I think both teams would actually maybe move the ball maybe a little bit easier than you would think. That doesn't mean it's easy, but resulting in a lot more field goals. 16-12 Steelers is what I have. Another extremely tough one for, the Bucs are plus 2.5. For now, I'm going to pick them. Sometimes we update my picks at the end of the week, and why I say it like that is because the Falcons are really beat up right now. A big one is A.J. Terrell, their star corner, is in concussion protocol. David Onyemata is dealing with something that's a big-time D tackle. I mean, their second best one, but Grady Jarrett's out for the year, so Onyemata is their best defensive tackle. And they have a few other key injuries. Caleb McGarry is going to be out, and then Drew Dahlman dealing with it. They have a lot of injuries. And the Bucs actually should be getting a little healthier. Levante David, their star linebacker, should be coming back. So it's hard to beat a team twice, too. Falcons beat them last time, especially when they're pretty close to even. So I'll take the Bucs in a tight one. If the Falcons were fully healthy, I would go with them at home because they are tougher at home. And the last time they played, they beat them while having some really costly bad turnovers, and they still beat them. So a little tricky, but I don't want to overthink it right now. The Falcons are very beat up, so I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in an absolute squeaker here. For the Falcons, if all those guys I listed are out, I think the Bucs actually can win by a little bit more in this, maybe 3 points, 4 points, but they're underdogs right now either way. It's not a game I'm extremely confident with. Lions, Bears, they just played each other a couple weeks ago. The Bears actually outplayed them in that game, but the Lions found a way to win. I think the Lions will be a little bit more comfortable this time, but not super comfortable. But I do have them covering in that 3. It's hard to repeat what you do against a team, a second time, especially when they play so close to you. Like they just played a few weeks ago, and the Bears played, as good as they can play, even though they lost against the Lions last time. So I think the Lions will have a little bit more success this time. Maybe less interceptions from Jared Goff. I got them winning 27-20, which it's tricky. I think there'll be less scoring than last time. The Bears defense have been playing pretty well. I'm going to go 27-20 Detroit in that one. Colts, Bengals, maybe the toughest game to pick this week. The big thing is Jake Browning. What Jake Browning are we going to get? We don't know enough about Jake Browning right now. That's the tricky part. Do I want to put all my chips into what I just saw against Jacksonville on Monday night, which was a hell of an outing in Jacksonville for Jake Browning, the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback. So it's a tough call, or he can, go back to what we are expecting him to see from him. Just, a little bit of a struggle. It's tricky. In Cincinnati, I think Browning has an okay game. The Colts pass defense a little, like the Titans were actually able to throw on them too. And the Bengals have the best receiver unit in football, receiving core in football. So the Colts haven't seen that yet. I think they should have some success. The Colts they've been winning, but they've been stopping the run. Like the run stopping abilities kind of went down a little bit, and Mixon's been running pretty well. So I think there's ways for the Bengals to win on offense. If Browning shits the bed or not, that's really what it comes down to. Colts with an emotional win last game as well against the Titans. They're kind of due for a loss. The Bengals, where they struggle, you would think that their weakness is Jake Browning. It's not. Their weakness is actually his run defense, which has always been so good. So that's why it's weird. So the Colts could run the ball effectively against them. If they had Jonathan Taylor, I'd be picking the Colts. They don't. Zach Moss has been pretty good. He was really good against Titans the first time. Last game he was not. So is he kind of coming back down to earth now? There's a lot of questions in this game. I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I think they have just too many weapons for the Colts to handle. Even though that even if they go off, the Colts can still win. Colts are favored by 1. It's a tough game to pick. Kind of a gut feeling there on that one. Jags and Browns. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to play. I guess there's a shot I heard, but I don't think he's going to play. So this score prediction is without him. I am not a big CJ Beathard guy. I'm always surprised that he's a second-string quarterback based on what I've seen from his career, his college career, and now, as a pro. I mean, he was all right in college, but I just never been a huge Beathard guy. He came in at the end of the game against the Bengals, and he was completing some open passes underneath. He still looked a little bit like, do I throw the ball away? Do I scramble? Where do I throw it? Like a little bit in his head a little bit. He did get thrown in the game, but the Browns defense is pretty tough. I think they're going to blitz him a bit. They're going to scheme some things up to make his job harder. I know they have some weapons, but Flacco looked all right. He looked all right, against the Rams, even though they couldn't pull it off. So I think a bit, lower scoring here. I'm just not trusting the Jags without Trevor Lawrence because they even have their bad games on offense with Trevor Lawrence, whether it's Lawrence struggling a little bit, not so much. So it's more so like the receivers kind of letting him down, even though they're talented receivers. So now they have Beathard, and he looked like he got a little beat up during that last game too in his short stint in the game. I'll take the Browns 19-13. They are favored by 3 points at the moment. Next, Panthers Saints. The Saints have been ice cold, but I like the matchup for them at home. I think Alvin Kamara has a big day. I think he'll run well. I think he'll run very well, and I think he'll catch the ball well, like he always does. But I think that'll be the main factor. The Panthers, they're actually pretty good stopping the pass. They're struggling against the run. They're going to probably come in this game and game plan for Kamara and Taysom Hill on the ground. I think the Saints can kind of get creative and leak them out, in the underneath game and through the air as well. I just keep thinking here's an opportunity for Bryce Young to get going. Not that I've been picking the Panthers, but here's an opportunity. They kind of let me down a little bit. Again, not too much because I haven't actually been picking them to win. But so I'm not really gonna have too much trust in them to get maybe something going here. But 24-16 Saints, and they are favored by 5. Next, we got the Texans and Jets. Could be somewhat close. The line actually says that as well. Maybe a little closer than expected. So could it be a trap game? I thought it's interesting that you got 2 former 49ers defense coordinators when they were on the staff at the same time as well, D'Amico Ryans and Robert Saleh. So they know each other's defense. They run each other's defense for the most part. They obviously have their own flavor of things that they throw in there. But so that could help assist the offensive side of both teams. I still think it's going to be a defensive game, just not enough offense from the Jets. Texans struggle without Tank Dell in there at the end of last week. They're playing a pretty good defense. So I think you have to run the ball to beat the Jets defense usually, or just win on defense, which I think the Texans will do. I'm just not expecting a whole lot of offense for them. But 17-10, I also thought about 20-13, so somewhere in that range for Texans-Jets. Rams-Ravens. Yeah, Ravens off the bye at home in Baltimore weather against the LA Rams. That definitely leans towards the Ravens. 7 seems like a bit though. Remember no Mark Andrews still. I mean, he's going to be out. Rams are playing really good football. It's not the same old Rams where you're like, all right, we'll just fully game plan for the pass because they can hit that deep ball and beat you on one play. You got to worry about Kyren Williams in the run as well. I know the Ravens defense is very good, and I'm going to trust them in this game, but it's a little trickier than you think against the Rams. So I think they'll keep it within 7. It'll probably be close to that, but because it's just the matchup, with the Ravens, I think Lamar runs pretty well, and their defense is solid. They can stop an explosive offense in Baltimore off the bye. Everything favors the Ravens, but I think 7 feels like a little bit right now. So 24-19 Ravens is what I'm going with. Vikings Raiders. I'm gonna take the Vikings, but it's the Vikings. It's a Vikings game for this to be under 3 points. I think 3-point favorite's a little bit too much because the game's got to be 1-2 or at the most 3-point game. But the Raiders could also win this game by a couple as well. It's gonna be Josh Dobbs. We got that news just a little bit ago. He's been struggling a little bit recently. I think it's going to be more of a defensive game. I just don't trust the Vikings to put him up. But Justin Jefferson is back, so he can have some explosive plays. But I just don't trust them to put a bunch of points up the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell, he's been looking pretty good, but Brian Flores' defense is a pain in the ass to deal with, especially for inexperienced quarterbacks. Like so many disguised coverages, you just don't know what they're in. A lot of zone blitz, so that could throw the young quarterback off a little bit. So 17-16, defensive game, close game. It's a Vikings game. It's got to be close. Seahawks-Niners, they just play each other on Thanksgiving, so they're playing each other right away again. It's tough to beat a team twice when it's that close because teams start overthinking stuff like, do we do the same thing? Like, how are they going to adjust? We just played them a couple weeks ago. Like, it's a little tricky. It kind of plays mind games with you, but it's just such a bad matchup for Seattle, and it's the best team in football with San Francisco 49ers that I think they're going to still win. I think they'll be fine this game. Seattle's a tough team to predict because you don't know which side of the ball is going to show up. It's usually just one. It's almost always just one side of the ball. Against the Cowboys, I could have sworn the defense was going to show up a little bit more and not the offense. It was the opposite. So they're tough to predict here, but 10.5 seems like a little bit, especially because the Seahawks played pretty well against the Cowboys. They scored some points. They're kind of in that mode. Pete Carroll's got those guys in that mode of like, hey, we got to win football games, get in the playoffs. We belong in the playoffs. We got to go out there and get in that zone and win the game. So I think it should be closer than 10.5 for those reasons, but Seahawks are also beat up at running back, and the Niners are just better on both sides of the ball. Again, Seahawks usually almost always one side of the ball is on, but the Niners have the ability to make both sides of the ball off. So kind of a tricky one to predict the score exactly, but I like 27-20 San Francisco, who is the best team in football right now. Bills, Chiefs, I'm going to go with the upset. This line is actually moving down in favor of the Bills because it was 3.5, I want to say it started at, but I saw it at 3 and 2.5 for the most part, so now it's down to 2. I do see some apps having it at 1.5, some betting sites, so it's right around there. I'm going to take the upset. I'm monitoring some injuries, though. The Chiefs are pretty beat up, and the Bills have been beat up all year. It's kind of when they went south. Sounds like Von Miller will play, and that was more of an off-the-field issue with the Chiefs. Nick Bolton is what I'm waiting for. He's practicing today, but he practiced last week, and he didn't return. So McKinnon also might be coming back, but they had Drew Tranquill go down, which if they have Nick Bolton, it's okay. Donovan Smith went down. Pacheco didn't practice today. He's dealing with something, obviously shoulder. I want to say he played through the end of the last game. He threw a punch and everything. Maybe on that hit it was. So it's a little tricky for the Chiefs here. It's a little bold. I think everyone's picking the Chiefs, but the Bills off the bye. A couple reasons. Again, the Chiefs are a little beat up. I want to see who's playing. I guess I could switch this depending on if all these guys are playing. Mainly Nick Bolton's what I'm looking at. But Chiefs are a little bit beat up. One, they're just not as good as they normally are. And I guess it's hard to see them lose 2 in a row. This one's at home. The Bills are off the bye. They played well against the Eagles. They kind of choked a little bit, but they got screwed by the refs. Last time both these teams played, they got screwed by the refs. So we'll see where the officiating's at this year. But the Bills played well last time. They knew they had to win. I know they didn't win, but they're in that mode. This is a playoff team. I don't know if they're going to get in the playoffs. They're going to have to win out pretty much, but like they are a top 7 team in the AFC at this time of the year. There is no question about it. I don't care how much they've choked. I don't care how much they struggle. So they have that mentality like, hey, we absolutely have to win. And the Bills, I don't know why it's an NFL rule for them to have to play in Kansas City every year, but it seems like they're in Kansas City every year in the regular season, and it seems like they find ways to win. So multiple reasons I'm going to go with the Bills. I think Diggs kind of has a re-breakout game. He's been a little quiet, which has been disappointing, but they can get that going. Chiefs looked rough against the Packers. I know it was a different game, but we will see. I'm going to go 26-24 Bills, kind of a gut feeling, but I am kind of like the Falcons-Bucks game. I'm kind of monitoring some injuries here and a potential change, but I usually hate to go away from my gut. This is more of a gut and the other game I discussed. Gut feeling here, so we'll see. It should be a fun one. It's pretty much a must-win for the Bills since they lost that last one. Broncos Chargers. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing on this one. I'm aware it could go either way. I know it's in LA. The Chargers should be the better team. I guess that's debatable. But are they right now? They're not. The Broncos are the better team right now. So that I don't think that's debatable. It's debatable on who's going to win the game. But I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing. I see a lot of people picking the Chargers. People I trust picking the Chargers, and they're favored by 3 right off the bat. They're still favored by 3. So it almost feels like one of those games where like sometimes when you're surprised about that, they end up being like Vegas ends up being right, so that's why it's a little weird. I like the Broncos in this game, though. I know the Chargers defense has been playing much better because going into the Ravens game, Staley said, we're going to switch. I'm going to still call the defense. We're going to switch some things up, though. They played well against the Ravens. They shut out. I know it's the Patriots. They shut them out, though. So I think maybe that's what people are banking on. The defense keeps rolling. I'm not going to trust it. I think it'll play okay, but, Russ has been doing some damage with his legs. He's got to take care of the football. He's got to see open receivers better. It's not like he's been awful in that category at all. But I think he'll win with his legs here. Obviously, Joey Bosa injured. Javonte Williams been running tough. Cortland Sutton's been beasting, and I think that's a tough matchup for the Chargers. Like, who's going to deal with him on contested catches? So I think the Broncos will do enough offensively. I'm not going to put my chips in on the Chargers defense yet. In the Chargers offense, you would think, Herbert should be able to do some damage. They could be getting healthier, because Justin Herbert's a great quarterback against the Broncos defense, but the Broncos defense has been balling out. They've been balling out, especially the pass defense. I think where you beat them is on the ground. They've been a little bit better stopping the run, though, but they are pretty bad still stopping the run. But the Chargers aren't that team that's really going to expose you if you're bad against the run. Like, are they going to be able to pound the ball to Eckler over and over again? No, they're going to need to. They should focus on just pound the football. Give Eckler the ball on first down. Give Josh Kelly the ball. Like, give him the ball more. Use other guys. I just don't trust them. I just don't. Like, they struggle to score on the Patriots. The Broncos defense better. Big thing here, though. The Chargers, some sloppy turnovers here and there. Look at the Ravens game. I know the Ravens defense better than Broncos. The Broncos have been the best team over the last several weeks creating turnovers. They should be able to execute and create some turnovers, and that could be the difference. Like, I think they can get 2 turnovers, perhaps. I'll take the Broncos. I like them in the matchup. I'm surprised about what people are picking the line in that one. I could be wrong. It's pretty close to a 50-50 game. If it was in Denver, I'd be pretty damn confident with the Broncos, but it's not. So I guess we'll have a good one. It's a must win for both teams, in my opinion. Should be a fun one. Eagles, Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one. And it's not because the Eagles struggled last week. I kind of predetermined this game last time they played, which wasn't too long ago. And of course, things could change, like my predetermined thought, but usually in the past, I've been right when it's, I don't predetermine things weeks and weeks and weeks ahead, but usually I stick with my original thought and it works out for me. But the last time they played, it was a 50-50 game for me, but it was in Philly. I was taking the Eagles, and the Cowboys outplayed them for a chunk of that game. The Eagles found a way. The Cowboys kind of got screwed by the officials in that game as well. So I kind of said to myself next time, it's like the reason I went with the Eagles because they're home. It's that close, and the game was that close, and the Eagles found a way. Maybe because they're at home. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. The Cowboys are playing pretty good football right now. And Eagles are arguably the best in football. So and it looks like Vegas kind of agrees. They got 3.5 spread. I was surprised by that, but I was surprised by 3 last week. Even though I picked the Niners, I was surprised they were favored by 3. So they know something here. I will take the Cowboys by 3, so it's right around that line here. We'll see. Interesting. The Eagles' defense has been questionable without Jonathan Gannon. The difference in coaching of coverages, like calling coverages, coaching the secondary up. And the Cowboys, the defense did not show up last week. The Seahawks beat them up good, even though the Cowboys won. So will we get both sides of the ball from the Cowboys, which we have been most of the time this year. So should be interesting. Next, Titans, Dolphins. I like the Dolphins winning this one fairly easy. The Dolphins are a very good team. They're heating up again. The only question with them is how they play against the really good teams that people are still wondering, but they don't have to worry about it in this game. The Titans are struggling right now. Although they outplayed the Colts last week, it was unfortunate they lost, but that was at home. They're a much, much better team at home versus away. If you watch any of the Titans this year, it's a night and day difference. They're away in this game. Monday Night Football in Miami, tough place to play. The Titans specifically are, on defense, are bad pass defense. They're pretty good run defense. Dolphins are a pass offense. I think the Titans specifically are bad against speed, get downfield throws. It's just the Dolphins. It's a bad matchup. I think Levis can have an okay game. How much points will they put up on the board, though? I like the Dolphins, 31-16. It's a big spread. They should actually cover that. It's a better team in Miami. It's a bad matchup with the Titans. The other game, this could be a trap game the more I think about it. I'm going to take the Packers. They're hot. It's hard to trust a DeVito-led, and they've been winning, but not against the best teams. The Packers are rolling right now. So I don't really hesitate picking the Packers. Picking this against the spread, I have them winning by 10 because it's tough, though. I really went back and forth on this one. but because I think the Packers can do some damage on defense. Could they score on defense? Could they put their offense in a good position at times? And the Packers offense should be fine, but it's a little bit different of a matchup, like a really good Giants defense been balling recently. I think Love and company will be okay. My issue is, and again, I think the Packers defense can make a play against DeVito, but my issue is that, well, it's in New York on Monday night, but mainly the Packers still, like, they're balling right now, but they still have a big weakness, and it is stopping the run on stopping opposing offense's run game. The run defense it's pretty bad. And the Giants, they're going to get the ball, and they're going to pound the football to one of the game's very best, Saquon Barkley. It's what they're going. I guarantee it's what they're going to try to do. So that can drain the clock, and they should have success. Now, what I think the Packers could do is stack the box and make it a little easier there, dare DeVito to beat them. It's tricky, though, against the spread here because, again, the Giants very easily could have success on the ground and drain that clock and keep this a tighter game than it needs to be. So it's going to the Giants could score more points if they have that much success on the ground. They could score. Still, it's going to drain clock. You're going to have to pass the ball in today's game to score points. So they could score 16, 17, or if they just drain that much clock, the Packers could score less. I think the Packers will win just because they're the better team. They're rolling right now, but it's a little tricky on how much are they going to win by. So interesting one. Could be a trap against the spread because at first glance you think, yes, the Packers are going to cover that, but we'll see. Then picks against the spread, kind of recapping it. 112 and 77 on the year. Wish I could have done better last week. If Pick Watch keeps track of experts, I'm actually second, only a couple behind the leader, so I've been happy with those picks. I'll take the Patriots +6. I know Steelers are tough at home in prime time, but it's Trubisky. I think it'll be a defensive game. Bucks +2.5. Falcons are really beat up. I guess take a look at those injuries throughout the week. I do like the Bucks 2.5 if that line's going to change, though, if the Falcons continue to be beat up throughout the week. Lions -3. The Bears should have won last time, so it's a little tricky, but I think the Lions do better this time. Bengals +1. Wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. It's one of the toughest games to pick this week. I don't know what we're going to get out of Jake Browning, and I don't know what we're going to get from the Bengals run defense. Colts been clutch. They're kind of due for a loss. Saints -5. They should cover that. They've been struggling, though. The Browns -3. I don't trust Beathard against them. The Browns should cover that. It could be kind of close. The Texans -5.5. At first glance, it looks like a steal, but it's a little tricky. No Tank Dell, two good defenses. The defense-minded coaches know they have the same defense, so mind games going on with that game. Rams +7. Probably wouldn't touch it. Most people are taking the Ravens. The Rams are a good football team. It seems like a lot for a good football team, +7, so that's why I went that route. Raiders +3. I have the Vikings winning, but it's a 50-50 game, and it's a Vikings game. It's going to be closer. It's going to be 3. It is the closest it'll be. Seahawks +10.5. Seahawks are in that mode where we have to win. We have to win. I don't think they're going to win, but they just play each other. It's hard for the Niners to do the same thing again. So 10.5 seems like a bit, but the Niners are so good. I can see them covering. I have the Bills winning. So give me them +2, but I'm monitoring some Chiefs injuries, Nick Bolton specifically, Pacheco, Donovan Smith. Broncos +3. They could lose the game. I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing. Usually on those types of game, Vegas ends up being right. But if they lose, I don't think it's more than 3. I just don't. If you like playing it safe, you go alternate line, go 4. 24-20 is like the furthest I see for the Broncos, but I have them winning the game. Eagles, they could beat the Cowboys. We know it's probably going to come down to the wire. So I like that as an extra hook on there, or extra 0.5 on there with the 3 point, over 3, I should say. But it's a little tricky. The 13's a shit ton. I usually stay away from that big of a line, but the Dolphins, it's a bad matchup for the Titans. The Titans away are arguably the worst team in football. That's pretty tough because the Panthers the Titans and Panthers were close, and it was in Tennessee. Bottom line is the Titans are a really bad football team away. They're not that bad at home. Really bad football team away. They're bad against speedy, downfield passing teams. Boom. The Dolphins are number 1 in that category. Dolphins are home. I already said that. They should cover. Packers game's a trap. I have them covering that, but I don't feel, as you could tell, Barkley in the run game of the Giants could keep this game close. The fact that it's under 7 like that's right at 6.5 makes they want people to bet on the Packers. It's a little bit of a tricky one. The Packers might dominate them too, though. It's tricky, though. It's kind of playing mind games with me just because the Packers' run defense is so bad and Barkley can go crazy. And I think the Packers will win, but control the clock. But even though I have them covering, I just don't trust DeVito. At the end of the day, you have to pass. And usually with that run offense where you control the clock, the play calling has to be pretty flawless. And Dayball's pretty good, but he's just insisting on drawing up some crazy pass plays here and there. So I don't know. It's a little tricky, but that'll do it for my score predictions, picks against the spread. Got this video every week, every Wednesday. Locks video will be next. We'll update you on these picks if anything changes. Always talk with you guys on Twitter. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.